From heavily armored daylight giants to the long-range guardians that turned the tide over Berlin, the United States deployed an incredible arsenal of air power during World War II. Today, we're exploring every U.S. bomber and fighter escort used during the Second World War. And we begin with the formidable heavy bomber that became a symbol of American aerial resolve in the skies over Europe. The early escorts, the range problem. The early attempt to solve the problem was the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt, affectionately called the Jug. It was a powerful, rugged fighter that excelled at absorbing damage and was fast in a dive. But even with external drop tanks, the early P-47 models could not escort bombers deep enough into Germany. They were forced to turn back at the German border, leaving the B-17s vulnerable. The Lockheed P-38 Lightning had the theoretical range due to its twin engines. However, operational realities, such as unreliable, required high-capacity drop tanks, prevented it from guaranteeing full coverage across the entire route, especially when operating from British bases. However, the P-38 was highly successful in the Mediterranean Theatre of Operations, or MTO, as a versatile long-range escort and air superiority fighter. Although not an escort, the P-38 also served a vital logistical role. In its F-5 photo reconnaissance variant, it flew deep over targets before and after raids to map damage and guide future missions. The P-40 Warhawk performed admirably in ground attack and low-altitude roles. But its Allison engine simply couldn't match the high-altitude performance of the German Bf-109s and FW-190s at the bomber's operational height, forcing it into lower-altitude assignments. Bell P-39 Airacobra. Another early American design was the Bell P-39 Airacobra. Its engine was mounted behind the pilot, allowing a devastating 37mm cannon to fire through the propeller hub. But without a proper high-altitude supercharger, the P-39 struggled in the thin air over Europe and was unsuitable as a bomber escort. Instead, it found remarkable success with the Soviet Air Force on the Eastern Front, where low-altitude combat was the norm. Its successor, the Bell P-63 King Cobra, was also briefly evaluated in the ETO, but was primarily shipped to the Soviets for combat on the Eastern Front. Northrop P-61 Black Widow. The Northrop P-61 Black Widow was America's first purpose-built night fighter, equipped with onboard radar and operated by a three-man crew. While not used for traditional daytime escort missions, it played a vital role in night escort and interception, protecting bomber formations from nocturnal attacks and hunting enemy aircraft under the cover of darkness. The ultimate solution, the game changer. The solution arrived in the form of the North American P-51 Mustang. Initially overlooked by the USAAF, its high-altitude performance was lacking, but the British stepped in, fitting it with the powerful Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. This conversion fundamentally transformed the aircraft. The new Merlin-powered P-51B and P-51C quickly became the ultimate long-range escort. With its laminar flow wing and drop tanks, it had an operational range of over 1,600 miles, capable of flying to targets deep inside Germany, fighting and returning home. The very first long-range escort mission over Germany was flown in December 1943. The final and most prolific version was the P-51D. This model featured the iconic bubble canopy for superior pilot visibility and increased armament. The P-51D became the primary escort fighter, with bomber crews affectionately nicknaming them their little friends. Mustang pilots destroyed nearly 5,000 enemy aircraft in the air, ensuring air superiority for the Allies. Many fighters tried to solve the escort crisis. Only one truly succeeded. Air dominance. The arrival of the long-range P-51 Mustang solved the central crippling problem of the strategic bombing campaign. Bomber losses were drastically reduced across the 8th Air Force. The Mustangs forced the Luftwaffe into decisive battle, effectively destroying the German fighter arm by late 1944. To truly signal the end of the piston age, the early Bell P-59 Airacobra and the fully operational Lockheed P-80 Shooting Star were sent to the ETO for evaluation and demonstration late in the war, though they saw no combat. We must also note that naval fighters, including the F-6H Hellcat and F-4U Corsair, saw limited service in the ETO, flying ground attack and escort missions off escort carriers in the Mediterranean and coastal waters. This air superiority was critical. It directly paved the way for the D-Day invasion and allowed the strategic bombing campaign to cripple German industrial and military power. In the end, the bombers didn't win the air war alone. It was the Mustang flying beside them that made victory possible.